Welcome to English Reading for Learning.
The story of Fanny Jackson Coppin. In the early 1800s in America, most African Americans were slaves. Slaves were owned by other people and were forced to work long hours under poor conditions. They had few rights. Most slaves had no education and no way to escape their hard lives. In 1837, Fanny Jackson Coppin was born into slavery. Fanny was very sick as a child. She had chills and fevers. Still, she had to work because she was a slave. It was not a fair way to live. One day, Fanny got her freedom. Her aunt gave $125 to the slave owner to set Fanny free. When Fanny was free, she was happier. Although Fanny was no longer a slave, she was still not treated equally. Back then, African Americans had few rights. Most had no education, so they could not get good jobs. They had to work very hard for very little money. Fanny wanted to go to school so badly. She was smart and curious. What could she do? In Massachusetts, Fanny's aunt found a school for her. It was a school for African Americans. Fanny learned how to read and write. This was a great success. Most African Americans of the time could not read or write because slaves were not allowed to go to school. Fanny went to a school to learn how to become a teacher. She had secretly been taking piano lessons, too. She was good at everything she did. When she graduated, she wanted to do more. Fanny learned about Oberlin College in Ohio. It was the only college in the United States that African Americans could attend. In 1860, Fanny became a student at Oberlin College. She couldn't believe it. Fanny had been born a slave, and now she was a college student. Her teachers were proud of her accomplishment. Fanny worked hard. She learned how to read Latin and Greek. She took classes that only men were allowed to take. She did things that no other woman had done before. The next year, the teachers at Oberlin College asked Fanny to teach a class. Fanny's teachers warned her it would not be easy. No African American woman had ever taught a college class. The students might even get angry, but Fanny would not give up. She held her head high and started to teach. The students loved Fanny's class. Fanny was such a good teacher that she started to teach 2 more classes. The teachers at Oberlin College were proud of her. Fanny not only taught college students, she also started teaching a group of African American men at night. They had escaped slavery, but they had never gone to school. Fanny taught them how to read and write. Fanny soon knew what she wanted to do with her life. She would help African Americans succeed. What they needed, she believed, was an education. It was their right. In 1865, Fanny graduated from Oberlin College, and the American Civil War had just ended. All the slaves were free now, but Fanny saw a new problem. Without an education, African Americans could not get good jobs. Fanny became a teacher at a school for African Americans in Philadelphia. She taught Latin, Greek, and math. In 1869, she became principal of the school. Fanny Coppin was the first African American woman to ever have such an important job. Fanny's students were learning a lot, but she worried they would not find good jobs. So Fanny took the school in a new direction. Knowing Latin and Greek would not help a man or a woman get a job in a factory or in an office. Fanny wanted her students to learn specific skills to help them get good jobs. She made the school bigger. All the students would still learn all the regular school subjects, but in Fanny's school, they would learn trades such as carpentry, shoemaking, typewriting, or cooking. Fanny's school was the first in the country to teach these skills to African Americans, and the school was a success. It became so popular that new students had to be put on a waiting list. Students graduated and found good jobs. Fanny was so proud. Many of the students at Fanny's school were poor and could not pay for classes. So Fanny asked people around the country to help. People saw how important the school was, and they sent money to help make it run. Fanny called these people heroes. In 1902, Fanny made sure the school was in good hands. Then she sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to South Africa. For the next 10 years, Fanny helped the people there find better homes and jobs. Fanny Jackson Coppin spent her life helping others. Today, the state of Pennsylvania celebrates her life. March 10th through March 16th is Fanny Jackson Coppin Week. By helping others and standing up for what is right, you too can celebrate the life of Fanny Jackson Coppin.
Thanks for watching and listening. Please click like and subscribe for new and latest uploads.